Who are you?
My name is Sarah Connor. Never seen one like you before. Almost human.
I am human. Why do you care what happens to her?
Because I was her.
Who is Sarah when we pick up with her these years later?
She's broken. Does that surprise you? She is truly a broken, devastated woman. I can't give too much away, but she's lost her purpose. So she's pretty dangerous.
How would you feel like this film maybe separates itself from the first two movies?
Well, I'm a hell of a lot older.
We watch all of his movies.
I think that it will actually tie in really beautifully with the first two films because we are carrying the story forward from the second film, and it just has that feel of one of the first two films. It really, I think, should be pretty seamless.
What was that first conversation when they came to you and they said, we want you to come back to Terminator? Who was it with?
It was with Jim Cameron. And it actually took me probably 6 weeks to decide to do it. I wasn't like, okay, I'm in. I really had to give it some thought that I want to return. I spent so much of my career kind of trying to be something other than Sarah Connor because one doesn't want to just do one thing. But all these years later, it felt like there was much more that I could say, that it wasn't just going to be like the proverbial, whipping the dead horse, but that and indeed, it is such a rich canvas to perform in that I finally decided to do it.
We're asking everybody, of those first two movies, do you have a favorite moment?
It was great. I think I asked him too many questions. I felt like, I remember Chris Farley back in the day.
That's a really good question that I've never actually had to ask before.
So when you filmed that thing,
in terms of like where I was at the time, I think that first film, You're Terminated, because that was just day 9 in a row, and I was covered with bruises, and it just took so much. The hand that's coming in that is like actually, because we didn't have anything else in those days, was a 250-pound arm that they're throwing at my neck, and the sense of just danger and just get through this. It was very, very authentic.
And finally, when
slipping in, fruit juice at the factory. It was very authentic.
Do you have a favorite moment from one of those two films that you just love and geek out about?
The milk carton in 2. And then Paxton, my boy Paxton, may rest in peace, in 1 at the Griffith Park Observatory.
Tell us just a little bit quick who you play in the film, how he factors in.
I'm the Terminator, baby.
Yeah. What was that like for you?
Trying to do something different, but not reinvent the wheel, because there's so much that Arnold was successful with and so much that Robert was successful with. So I just try to find what worked and then just try to elevate it a little bit if I can and where I can. And yeah.
And is it an evolution of the other Terminators we've seen? How is he different?
Oh, man. Can't say. I wish I could. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about who you play in the film.
I play Grace. I'm an enhanced human that shows up in Mexico City on a mysterious mission to protect Danny Ramos, who's played by Natalia Reyes. And that's the line I can say.
Of the first, this is a continuation of the first two films. So we're asking everybody, do you have a moment from one of those two films that you remember the most, that you love the most?
Yeah, it's not. It's the same one everyone has, which is Linda's guns just appearing in camera and her slowly pulling herself up in a pull-up. It's very inspiring.
What did that mean to you growing up?
Well, I didn't see it until about a year ago, so it was really. I finally saw this moment that everyone else had seen their entire lives. It was just cool seeing a strong woman who's not trying to present herself on screen that's just like going and pursuing and acting, and I think she means a lot to the history of female action stars.
How would you say this film sort of separates itself from the other two?
Well, I mean, it's a direct sequel to the first two movies, but it's 30 years later, and so there's a darkness in that, in this woman that's gone through so much, Sarah Connor. We saw her at the end of the second one, and the person she was at the end of the second was so wildly different from the one at the end of the first. And then who does she become after 30 years of living like that? And that idea was so interesting to explore. And then that's obviously part of a much bigger story, but I think the Sarah Connor connection is just so interesting, and watching her develop over time.